Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our sixth and final stop of the App Makers Tour of Europe. And for this last experience, we'll visit Nordics.
We've been doing this App Makers Tour. This is our sixth time this year, and we couldn't have an App Makers Tour of Europe without making a stop in the Nordic countries. The top three countries in the 2020 Innovation Scoreboard are Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. Many of our members all over the world have created apps that you use every day, possibly, and for everything that you need, there is an app for that. It's a little bit of a cliche, but it's more important than ever. Small companies need trust. Small companies need to have global reach. Small companies need to have regulations in different countries be simplified and be more uniform and accessible through them without having to spend so much time on overhead and trying to make business work and trying to deal with different regulations everywhere that they no longer have time to innovate. The platforms provide instant trust and security for people so that those consumers in different countries all over the world can trust a very small company at the other side of the world and install their app and give them money every month or every year or one time.
All the applications to gatekeepers needs to be well targeted and proportionate, and they have to be clear, because if we have kind of different kind of rules and nobody understands really what they mean in practice, that's a chaos.
We are a company that creates software as medicine for dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And we're both involved in primarily creating apps for treatment of the cognitive symptoms of dementia, which are the primary symptoms, for example, loss of attention or loss of memory, and using different methods to stimulate the brain to actually improve these. A couple of years after we founded Brain Plus, we actually launched our first app. And at that time, we were just 5 people in the company. And somehow we managed to have one of our first apps, which was just for general brain training for healthy people, recognized as one of the best new apps in the App Store, in the Apple's App Store. What that meant for us was that all of a sudden we were getting over first 500,000 downloads, eventually over 1 million downloads. And this is something we could do without a marketing budget, for example. But I think also the fact that when you are on the Apple App Store, at least, or the Google App Store, that you can trust that the app is certainly something that you can download to your device.
Well, on a meta level, I really want to see our politicians focusing not on controlling other companies that by chance are not European, but to say, hey, how do we build European gatekeepers? And with this glass ceiling that the DMA inserts, might be a limit for the ambitions of companies. And when you compare one-to-one, so what are the traits of a unicorn and what are the traits of a gatekeeper? A lot of these characteristics look the same. And I guess this will also be a subject for this conversation, that how do we make legislation with startup and not just, for startups?
And it's important to remove some of the applications, or if they are really not, or if we see that they are really not working, or they might cause some harm for businesses or end users. At the moment, what we have there in the parliament side, there's no this kind of possibility to remove applications. So I don't know, is that really, well, I could say it would be like a red line in the council, because it's always important to take into account that the regulation is flexible enough. And of course, if we add or remove some application, it should be done like amending the whole regulation, not just in a way that the Commission give its own delegated act.
The more requirements are put on, the more bureaucracy, you could say, both from the app stores, but if legislation then imposes additional requirements on the app platforms that are then imposed further onto the companies, then there is of course always a danger that that will really not only stifle innovation, but make it much more difficult for small companies to actually live up to requirements. So there's always a balance there between ensuring safety, trust, but also not making it so difficult that small 3-person companies or 5-person companies can't actually access these platforms.
Anyway, we will have this regulation in the end. It's sure, because there's a really big political pressure to have it. But how it will be done, that's important. And that's why we need to have also voices from smaller businesses, and that's very important to hear a different kind of views, not just the bigger one.